I believe the temperature today in Delhi is quite
tolerable,
better than most days, I think.
No, it rained yesterday evening, so brought temperature down by about 10 degrees. And 10 degrees is hell of a lot. And
Yeah,
that's
but
10 degrees centigrade, not Fahrenheit.
I think it should be there.
Yeah, I think she's there.
Yeah, Marta Grande is connected and Sandro Gozzi is joining us in a minute.
No, she's already there. She's up there I can see her on the second screen.
Okay, perfect.
Okay, so we welcome Dr. Marta Grande. Thank you very much for joining us this morning. We've been looking forward to having you with us. It's a pleasure.
Thank you.
And it's great to kick off the season of the new beginning, as they say, between the two nations, and we are looking forward to this in a very interesting way. So I think, Manish, with your permission, we should be able to begin. And one of the things that we would like to kick off, first of all, is just to get some rules out of the way, which is basically that everybody has their mic muted and your webcam is turned on. If you'd like to ask a question, please use the written chat feature or submit a question in the chat form. When you have the occasion to speak, you could unmute. And we recommend, of course, the use of anybody who would like to use headphones for better audio quality. And this is the mandatory part of the announcements that I make. So we get quickly into the part of the webinar. I begin with a small poem which has been written by a young lad. It's called "Bless the Space Between Us" by John O'Donoghue during the COVID situation. This is the time to be slow. Lie low to the wall until the bitter weather passes. Try as best you can not to let the wire brush of doubt scrape from your heart all sense of yourself and your hesitant light. If you remain generous, time will come good, and you will find your feet again on fresh pastures of promise, where the air will be kind and blushed with beginning. Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to this session, a webinar by FICCI. We are very happy to have with us very, very important dignitaries. And first and foremost, I'd like to welcome Dr. President Marta Grande, who's the President of the Foreign Affairs Committee of the Italian Parliament. Excellencies, Mrs. Rinat Sandhu, Ambassador of India to Italy, and His Excellency Vincenzo Di Luca, Ambassador of Italy to India. I also have the pleasure of welcoming Honorable Sandro Gozzi, who's the President of the Italia-India Association and member of the European Parliament. Miss Alessandra Muglia, who is a very leading active journalist from Corriere della Sera, which is one of the main newspapers of Italy. Dottoressa Natalia Operti, she is a bright, very committed lawyer, taxation firm from Italy, and already very invested into India. Mr. Vas Shenoy, he's an industrialist and working on the Indo-Italian platform of investments. Mr. Ameya Prabhu, who is a young India representative of the leaders of India Venture Capitalist and Investment Fund between Italy and India. And Commodore Mukesh Bhargava, who is a member of the board of L&T, Larsen & Toubro, the defense area, and one of the leading companies of India that we have. I would like to welcome Mr. Manish Singhal, who is the Deputy Secretary General of FICCI, to deliver his opening remarks. Mr. Singhal has been with FICCI since 2012, oversees the global outreach of FICCI to further the business interests of Indian industry and strategic approach of the Government of India, along with various other divisions. He has spent 22 long years in the best of class of Indian transnational companies like Tata Motors, Eicher, Tata Auto Compound Systems, Moser Bayer, and BML. He has immense exposure to global multicultural business, covering over 60 countries besides India. And that's the core competence we bring to the table. Mr. Manish Singhal, please.
Thank you, Ronnie. Thanks for actually starting this session off with some very motivating words. In the same tone, I think we all from India at least, we commend the people of Italy for their resolve to fight back this COVID crisis. We all have been witness to social media video clips where people have stood up in solidarity. And of course, India is there with you. Of course, our peak is probably yet to come, but we are keeping our fingers crossed. And I think today, before we begin the proceedings, we should also formally acknowledge our frontline warriors in this fight against COVID. They've been doing some commendable work, our medical personnel and police people. And of course, I would say the governments in both the countries also. And of course, this is also happening around the world. So I think we all should together commend the frontline warriors in this fight. At FICCI, it's of course, I think, unprecedented or a very rare occasion that we have the august presence of Ms. Marta Grande, the President, Foreign Affairs Committee of Italian Parliament, accompanied by His Excellency Luca, the Italian ambassador to India, and also at the same time, the highest privilege probably to have Indian ambassador to Italy, Ms. Rinat Sandhu. I think, like I said, it's rare to have all of them together. So we have a real power talk to look forward to. And I'm sure they will give us their vision and perspective as to how to look at India and Italy cooperation post this crisis. I think in a few months' time, we should be heading to talking more and more of business. This comes in the backdrop of, both our prime ministers, Prime Minister Modi and Prime Minister Conte. They have been working together to redefine our relationship in the recent past. And the idea, of course, is to look at much more economic engagement in addition to geopolitical engagement. So the bilateral trade, which is in the region of about $11 billion last year, this year, maybe same or slightly lower because we really don't know where March ended for us. But it's about $11 billion. Similarly, the investment of about $3 billion from Italy is probably just there. I mean, it's $3 billion cumulative since 2000. So there have been Italian companies like Perfetti, Carraro, Ray-Ban, Gucci, and Alitalia. They're all here, besides, of course, Piaggio and Fiat and all. They're also contributing in a big way in our Prime Minister's favorite program, Make in India. They also, in addition to these consumer goods, are contributing towards making Make in India happen by way of supply of a lot of machine tools and equipment for textiles, woodworking, manufacturing of engineering goods, and stone cutting. When I say stone, marble, and other stones cutting. So this is already happening. Now, what more can we do together, especially once we are through with the current crisis? This, to my mind, brings us to some opportunities which probably are so far not harnessed in terms of some other big Indian programs like Digital India, Skill India, Startup India, and Smart Cities. Italian companies have a lot of niche technologies which can contribute towards these programs. And these, of course, are big mega programs in India, which will continue post-COVID also. And government is investing a lot in these. So these are the areas we should look also towards the cooperation. In addition, our conventional areas of food processing, infrastructure design, development, aerospace, transport. These are always there. A lot of stuff is happening in this, but to my mind, it is still not enough, and we can do much more. So while these conventional areas are further consolidated for cooperation, at FICCI, we've done some work, and I would like to leave you all just with 5 newer areas to look at. And these areas are definitely new opportunities and big opportunities again. The first one could be, let's say, harnessing Italian expertise in design and development. Already a lot of cooperation is happening, especially in automobile and railways. But I think much more can happen, because now India is looking at high-speed railways in a very big way. We already have metro rails in most of the cities. Similarly, another design area is designing of luxury goods, garments, and footwear. So Italian design is known world over. India can be a very good production base for all these items. Mr. Ronnie Simon himself is doing this in India in a small way. Third area of cooperation is again the film industry. Revisiting film industry, the cooperation and the co-production treaties. Ambassador Luca, I may touch a raw nerve, because we know that Italy was partnering with FICCI in the FICCI frames this March, but unfortunately we had to retract this. But we are looking at a virtual program, and we hope to see Italy in a big way there also. The fourth idea which we would like to present is SME to SME cooperation. Italian SMEs again have a lot of niche technologies, and India could be just the place for these technologies to be scaled up. We obviously can be very competitive when we scale up using our manufacturing ecosystem, and then we can supply not only to the large Indian market, but also to the entire world. So this is one area where we can look at going forward. Last but not the least is a greater partnership in R&D and innovation. Even when we see within Europe, Italy's expenditure on R&D is relatively lower among its EU peers. The same is the case with India, where the investment in R&D is relatively lower. So probably this is one area where we could utilize our resources better and actually collaborate to keeping in mind that India offers a very large pool of technical manpower, and Italy anyways has technology on which we can do more development. With these thoughts, I would just like to pave the way for some eminent speakers we have today, who will be sharing deeper insights with their business experience, and of course, listening to hear Ms. Martha, Ambassador Rinat Sandhu, and Ambassador Luca. Thank you once again, and you all stay safe, please. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Manish Singhal, for your thoughts and perspectives, especially during these difficult times that we are going through. I now request Ms. Rinat Sandhu, Excellency Ambassador of India to Italy, to deliver her key observations and share her perspectives with us. Mrs. Rinat Sandhu assumed charge as Ambassador of India to Italy and San Marino on the 9th of July, 2017. Ambassador Rinat Sandhu began her career in the Indian Foreign Service in 1989. She has served in various capacities in Indian missions abroad, including Moscow, Kyiv, Washington, D.C., Colombo, New York, and Geneva. She also served at the headquarters in the Ministry of External Affairs, New Delhi, handling investment and trade promotion projects, East Europe and Sri Lankan desks. Ambassador Sandhu was Deputy Permanent Representative of India to the WTO in Geneva during 2011 to 14. Prior to her assignment to Italy, she was the Deputy Chief of Mission at the Indian Embassy in Washington, D.C. Please welcome Ambassador Rinat Sandhu. Thank you.
Thank you, Ronnie, and thank you, Manish. Greetings to everyone. I'm really delighted to join this distinguished panel of speakers. I would like to first of all welcome Her Excellency Martha Grande, Chair of the Foreign Affairs Committee, with whom I have had the privilege of exchanging views on several occasions. Welcome also to Excellency Sandro Gozzi, an old friend of India and one of the first parliamentarians I met when I arrived in Rome. Of course, my dear friend and colleague, Ambassador Vincenzo di Luca. There is also an excellent set of panelists that are lined up to speak after that. So welcome to all, and very happy to join you this morning from Rome. This meeting, as pointed out before me, is taking place during very challenging times for all of us, and particularly a very difficult moment for the global economy. The whole world is united in fighting against coronavirus and trying to find a cure or a vaccine for it. Until then, all countries are at various stages of the pandemic curve, some ahead of others, like Italy, which was quite severely hit pretty early on. But we are already seeing that things are improving. We are moving towards better times here in Italy. There is a significant fall in the new infections. Since May 4th, Italy has moved on to the second phase of living with the virus, and there is a gradual lifting of restrictions. June 4 will mark the next milestone when free movement of people will be allowed across regions. Like Italy, India too has been working hard to contain the spread of this virus. To break the chain of transmission, India opted for an early lockdown on March 25, which has helped to slow down the doubling rate of active cases to 18 days. You can well imagine the challenges and the enormity of enforcing a lockdown of 1.3 billion people. Yet we were able to do it with the support of the people and in consultation with all the state governments. We did face some unforeseen and unique challenges in the form of reverse migration, but thanks to the support of people, of the civil society, of local administrations, the central and state governments have been working tirelessly to mitigate the hardships faced by the migrant workers. But the lockdown has also given us precious time to prepare and ramp up our healthcare infrastructure and testing capabilities across the country. India has, in a short span of just 2 months, become the second largest producer of PPEs, personal protective equipment, and this shows the resilience and the strength of the Indian industry to adapt and innovate and change with the times, and to be able to meet the changing the demands, as well as to exploit new opportunities. While a countrywide lockdown in India is still in place till May 31, India has begun to open up gradually and cautiously by allowing resumption of production and commercial activities in areas that are less impacted by the virus. In several ways, we see that India and Italy are following a similar trajectory. A number of economic support measures have been announced by both the governments to support those who have been the worst impacted by this pandemic, which includes households, families, and businesses. Since economic growth in both countries is expected to be severely impacted this year, economic recovery and revival are going to be on the top of the agenda of both our governments and both our countries. In this backdrop, as we move to a new normal, it becomes all the more important to redouble and intensify our efforts to promote bilateral trade and investment, and to exploit our mutual synergies and complementarities. And Manish has, before me, has alluded to some of those areas where we enjoy complementarity and there are strengths on both sides that we can take advantage of to promote a stronger partnership. Our bilateral trade is 9.2 billion euro last year. It comprises only 1% of Italy's global trade. And this number is extremely small, again, given the strength of the two economies. The investment, as per Indian data, which Manish mentioned, $3 billion. But as per Italian ISTAT, it is 6 billion plus. Nevertheless, it is still much smaller than we would like it to be. So we do need to, in this new environment, step up B2B collaboration, forge new partnerships, and explore the fresh opportunities. There is tremendous scope here that we need to work on. A number of priority sectors have already been identified by both the countries, and these include the traditional sectors which Manish mentioned, like renewable energy and clean technologies, for which there is a huge demand in India, and Italy is very strong in this sector. Infrastructure and railways, food processing, engineering goods and machinery, automobiles and automotive components, fashion and design, including textiles and leather. And to this list, I would add pharmaceuticals and healthcare, because this is an area where both India and Italy have strong capabilities which can complement each other. In the current health emergency, this collaboration becomes even more important. I know that there is a lot of research going on, both in Italy and in India, to find a cure, to find a vaccine. And there is, as Manish mentioned, a long tradition of scientific collaboration between our countries. So we must work together in this field as well to promote joint research, joint development, and look for areas where we can both benefit and it can be a win-win partnership. Again, another commonality is the strong SME sector. The small and medium enterprises and family businesses comprise a very important component of both India as well as Italian economies. And they can play a very important role in the post COVID scenario. So we must encourage greater collaboration and partnerships amongst the SMEs. In the post COVID scenario, it will be important for businesses and companies to innovate and adapt to the new types of demands that are emerging. We are already seeing that happen both in Italy as well as in India. And this is, of course, a welcome trend to evolve with the times. The important thing is, how do we take advantage of these opportunities? In conclusion, I would say that India and Italy are two vibrant democracies. We have traded with each other for centuries, especially in the last 70 years of our diplomatic relations. There has been a strong momentum. Both countries attach great value to this important relationship, and we must continue to do our best and to work together to strengthen this relationship. As members of the G20, India and Italy can also make an important contribution. Italy will hold the presidency of the G20 in 2021 and India will follow in 2022. So again, this is another opportunity where we can achieve a lot of things together, given our shared priorities and convergence on a number of issues. So I would like to end there, but also at the same time, having my presence here, I would like to offer the assistance and help, whatever the embassy can provide to the companies who are looking to promote business and cooperation between India and Italy. We are always available. We have taken several initiatives like the Access India initiative, where we are trying to matchmake and help companies promote business together. So we are available, and thank you very much for having me on this panel. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Your Excellency. It was really nice to have these indicators from you this morning. We are now looking forward to all the support and carry the business forward now. Today, we are very fortunate to have among us Ms. Marta Grande, the President of the Foreign Affairs Committee of the Italian Parliament. I request her to kindly present the keynote address and share her perspectives on future of India-Italy trade and investment relations. Since June 21, 2018, Ms. Marta Grande is the President of the Third Commission of the Foreign and Community Affairs. She was formerly deputy in the 17th legislature and is affiliated with the Five Star Movement since March 27, 2018. And I see her as an emerging and very powerful young leader and a great face of Italy moving forward, and very much a lover of India. And we had some pleasant occasions of discussing it. I'm looking forward to having you on board, ma'am. Mrs. Marta Grande, please.
Thank you very much. Dear ambassadors, friends, first of all, I want to thank the Italian-Indian Association and the Federation of Italian Chambers of Commerce and Industry for this opportunity to meet you all here in this virtual space and have the chance to continue discussing relevant international aspects of foreign policy of our two countries. I want to start by saying that although unfortunately I've never been to India, just like a great majority of the world population, a visit there would mean much more than just a simple visit. To the world, India coincides with spirituality, history, coexistence, and non-violence. But at the same time, India is the example of how a great country, the biggest democracy on earth, can jump in the 20th century economy and become one of the first 10 economies in the world. Starting from the political side, I want to remember two important meetings that took place in 2018. The visit of President Conte at the Tech Summit, where he met with President Modi and had the opportunity to strengthen our bilateral relations by releasing also a joint declaration. And from the parliamentary side, I would like to remember the visit at the Chamber of Deputies of Sri Ravi Shankar, where we had the chance to discuss, probably for the first time in this building, the approach of non-violence, just like all of his humanitarian work. I want to remember in this short introduction, not only the economic exchange between our two countries, which we all know is around 9.5 billion in exchange in 2018, but also another important aspect, the scientific cooperation and exchange of researchers. I want to remember that because I really believe that the economy obviously can help relations between Italy and India, but the exchange of work, experiences, and the chance to meet together helps us bond in a deeper way. Political meetings are crucial, exchange of ideas are fundamental, but the possibility to meet in person is absolutely necessary. And when this COVID emergency will be over, I am sure we will open a new chapter in bilateral meetings between our two countries. That's why I want to thank you again for this opportunity to open this debate, and I look forward to hear the ideas from all your sides. Thank you very much for your attention.
Thank you very much, President Marta Grande. Of course, we look forward to sharing your energy to move towards and also visiting India shortly. I'm sure we will be looking forward to it. A lot of us will be pleased to have your leadership in this matter. We now take the opportunity of inviting His Excellency Vincenzo Di Luca, Ambassador of Italy to India, to deliver the special address and share his perspectives on further strengthen our already strong economic and investment relationships. The veteran diplomat Ambassador Di Luca presented his credential as Ambassador of Italy to India on December 18, 2019. Before arriving in India, he served at the Italian Ministry of Foreign Affairs and International Cooperation as Director General of the cultural and economic promotion and innovation since February 2016. And he entered the diplomatic service in 1989. Minister De Luca has been appointed in Khartoum, Tunis, Paris, at the permanent representation to the OECD, and in Shanghai, where he served as Consul General for 4 years. During his career, Ambassador De Luca progressively specialized in the internationalization of the economic system. He served as diplomatic advisor of the Ministry of Industries, Transport and Economic Development, and as vice president for institutional and international relationship with major Italian companies such as Eni and Enel. During the past few years, he played a crucial role in the organization of the Expo Milano 2015 as president of the Foreign Ministry's task force, capitalizing on his experience as Consul General in Shanghai from 2010 to 14. Minister De Luca has been member of the scientific board of the Foundation Enrico Mattei. We look forward now and welcome Ambassador De Luca to address us. Please, Ambassador, sir.
Thank you very much, Mr. Simon. Thank you also the Deputy Director General of FICCI, Singal, for organizing this webinar, and a special greetings to the President of Foreign Affairs Committee, Marta Grande, Ambassador Rinat Sandhu, we share with her a lot of activities, and also member of European Parliament, Sandro Gozzi. I would like to start from what is happened in the last two, 3 months. The experience of COVID-19, I think, has proved that we need more international collaboration, more sharing of experience. We certainly have adopted, both in India and in Italy, severe measures to contain the spread of the contagious, to have our citizens resilient to this pandemic. And we also need, in all this period, some special attitude, adaptation, innovation, flexibility. And I think both countries and governments have shown this special attitude. India and Italy want to relaunch the international collaboration, because there could also be the temptation to say, okay, we solved the problem within our frontier. You cannot solve any problem in the 2 frontiers. We need a new international collaboration, a stronger multilateralism, more effective international organization. And this is the shared vision of Italy and India, also in view of the 2 presidencies of G20, Italy 2021 and India 2022. So we have a framework of political vision and initiative that links our 2 countries. This is very important, this period, because I think Italy, Europe, India can be important players in promoting a new, inclusive and sustainable globalization. Since we share the same vision, I think we could also enhance our bilateral partnership. The high-level visit mentioned by President Grande in the last few years, and the next visit that we are planning, I think will give the opportunity to define a sort of multi-year partnership, precisely in the sector and the priorities mentioned by Ambassador Rinat Sandhu, and also in the introduction by Mr. Singal. We are working a lot during the last few years in the traditional area of infrastructure, of machinery, of food processing, something also in the health policies. Now what we need is what also President Grande says. I think in innovation, research and development, we can do more, because we are 2 very innovative countries. We have capacity in terms of research and development. We have 2 similar structures with the millions of SMEs, both in Italy and in India. And we can take advantage of these similarities between the 2 countries. Furthermore, I would say that since Italy is the second manufacturing country in Europe, and India wants to become more and more a global manufacturing platform, we can share experience, technology. We can promote investment in the both sides, in the both direction, from Italy to India, from India to Italy. Because in these sectors, I think India and Italy can play a role in redefining the global value chain. We have potential, both in our market, in your market. Your market is really one of the most important in the world. And I would mention also the potential of the e-commerce and the e-trade with India because of the population and because also of the diffusion of the smart phone and the digital device in India. I think also in this era of COVID, we are experiencing a use of digital modalities and digital divides. We have launched the project of a so-called digital embassy because we want to support this partnership, this economic partnership, also with new instrument. This with FICCI, with Invest in India, with CII, with all the players in India, with our Confindustria, with our business association. We are organizing a lot of events, sort of virtual digital mission, where we can organize matchmaking, B2B, business forum, whatever. Even in this period, we could do more than before, because using these devices, I think we can avoid that the social distancing, the physical distancing becomes a social distancing. We need more contact, more relation, more opportunity. Because in this period, I think since we share a common vision of the international relation, of the new framework for globalization, we can do more. We can enhance our economic and cultural partnership. And Mr. Singhal mentioned also a new area, some new area of collaboration. Certainly, creative industry, movie industry, design. These are fields where India is creative, is active, but Italy is a very important tradition and also know-how to share with India. So I think this is the moment, the period, this webinar is very important because we see today how we share priorities, how we share vision, how we share also the initiative we have to carry out in the coming months. So just to conclude my intervention, I see big potential also in this difficult phase this year, in the coming years, to define a framework, a new innovative framework of partnership between Italy and India. And our embassy, as same as Rinat say, is the support of all the actors of this partnership. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Your Excellency. It was wonderful to hear your thoughts. I'm very sure that it will become the anchor of synergy between our great nations and build new pillars of our partnership. And I'm really looking forward, and we at FICCI, we would really look forward to creating some excellent programs with you. We are always available, and we look forward to your support on this matter. Now I request Mr. Sandro Gozzi, Honorable President, Association, Italia-India Association, and is a member of the European Parliament and also member of the EU-India delegation, to share his perspectives. We especially appreciate the treasure and the partnership of the Associazione Italia-India. Mr. Gozzi is an Italian politician of the Democratic Party and who has been a member of the European Parliament since 2020. He was a member of the Italian Chamber of Deputies from 2006 to 2018. And Mr. Sandro Gozzi has been also a visiting lecturer at different universities of Europe. But mainly, I have the honor of introducing him to you as one of the business parliamentarian leaders promoting trade between the two countries very early, and as a very, very important patron. And thank you very much, Sandro Gozzi.
Thank you, Ronnie. But let me thank, first of all, yourself, Ronnie, for your excellent initiative and excellent job, and also Manish Singhal, that, I mean, you are co-hosting this very timely and very useful event. I'm also very happy to have listened to Ambassador Renat Sandu, which I think has done an excellent job in Italy under not always easy circumstances, and in period where probably our bilateral relations had some factor of complication. So, Ambassador, let me thank you very much as Italian for the job that you've done. I'm very happy to find again the very energetic Ambassador Vincenzo De Luca, who is one of our best diplomats. He has it is going to be an engine in our bilateral relationship, I'm sure. And I also share his introductory remarks. I'm very happy, and I thank warmly the colleague and chairwoman of the Foreign Affairs Committee, Marta Grande. I'm very happy for your contribution. And I hope that we will continue to cooperate in the context of the Italy-India Association and our respective parliamentary responsibilities in Italy and in Europe. Currently, I am a member of European Parliament and member of your delegation. I think that it would be useful to spend these few minutes with you talking to you about the European perspective of the relations with India, which is also the Italian perspective. And I think that also this could be a new area of action of the Italy-India Association, which finally is getting out of the lockdown. And also this is another good news today. Let me recall a few figures and concentrate also on common priorities between the Indian Union and the European Union. The EU is the first trade partner of India. It is equal for India to US or China. It is also the European Union, the second destination for the Indian export. So, I mean, whether we like it or not, and we like it, we are obliged to work more and to work better together. There has been an increase, of course. I mean, the lockdown has heavily affected also our bilateral relationship, but we had seen an increase of 72% in the last 10 years of the relations on the free circulation of goods between India and Europe, and an increase of 32% in the exchange on services. And the European firms which are based in India are more than 6,000. I mean, I stop here with the figures, but I think that they are very important. They are very important because they explain why we have really to intensify our effort to arrive to the signature of the new free trade agreement between India and Europe. We know we started a while ago, in 2007. There have been ups and downs, but I think that it is now time to reach our common goal. We know it is this summit that has been one of the victims of the lockdown. It was meant to be held on the 17th of March 2020, but now, I mean, we have to work. There are issues on which we have to deepen our discussion, but I'm sure that we can move on. I think of cars, wine, spirits, milky product, the issue of tariff, the issues of tariffs on agriculture and food product, which is of the greatest interest from an Italian perspective. The issue of intellectual property in the pharmaceutical sectors, another very important issues in the new phase of our bilateral relationship. And I think that we have also I want to recognize the very interesting and positive developments that we have seen recently in India, and that, in my view, help to create a more vibrant context of bilateral relations between our two continents. After all, India is almost a continent, and in Europe too. I look with a great interest on the development of the on the national taxation in India on the goods and services, which help to really create a sort of, a more efficient single market, if I can use this word, in India. You are facilitating the foreign investment, and this is also another thing which is which we assess with a great interest, as we look at the great interest the new ways of liberalization in the agricultural sector in India, and which has been rightly recalled by Ambassador Sandhu and by FICCI, all the new digital programs. I mean, I was very interested in particular on the digital program, Indian digital program on education, eVidya, the attention that you paid for disabled people in this new wave of digital program. I mean, these are all very good development. Yesterday, there have been a video conference between the Indian foreign minister and the high representative, the European high representative for common foreign and security policies. And I think that it is very timely for us. The following day, we are holding this seminar. It is clear, and I conclude, we have many common challenges. We have to strengthen our strategic partnership. We have to together work to relaunch and to strengthen the multilateral cooperation, because it is true, it has been said, but this crisis has only showed how much more we have to do together on the global scene. And I think that also we have to strengthen our cooperation in the medical sector. The crisis is not over. It requires a lot of bilateral cooperation. I will conclude only to share with you our interest and our readiness as Italy-India Association, as a civil society association. It is a non-political, non-partisan association to contribute to the 2 magic years, because the fact that both India and Italy will share the G20 makes these 2 years magic years. And we are ready to contribute with the 2 governments, with the 2 societies, to make a great success of this moment at the head of the G20. Thank you once again very much to you all.
Thank you very much, Sandro Gozzi. Thank you for your warm welcome address. Your keen involvement and presence in the EU will help us to connect better with the European market. The message is not lost in your pioneering manner of putting together the contours of this large market, and the EU-India also, besides being very much on the Italian forefront. I would now take the opportunity going to other speakers, but just as a special moment, I'd like to take time to introduce to all of you Matteo Ribaldi, who is a young professional with previous experiences in the public offices, both at the presidency of the Council of Ministers and also at the European Commission. He's been dealing with businesses and SMEs in the internationalization part. Currently, he's working in the public affairs sector in Rome, especially in the e-digital and e-commerce companies. And he has recently accepted the role of the Secretary General of the Italy-India Association. And he has been very active to help us together with FICCI to promote this event. Matteo, just a word from you, and welcome aboard.
Thank you, Mr. Simon. Thanks to the ambassadors and all the other speakers for being here and for participating to this very interesting webinar. First of all, as new Secretary General, let me thank the former Secretary General, Mr. Tommaso Amico di Meane, who held this position in the past years and now has decided to seize an important opportunity in the Italian academic world. As already stated by Sandro Gozzi, the goal of our association is to establish a forum where the worlds of politics, business, and research have the opportunity to discuss and promote relations between the 2 countries. And I think that this webinar is a good example of our activity. Both the Italian and the Indian governments have showed their intention to intensify the current economic engagement. And so, in my view, it will be very interesting to assess how the current emergency is changing not only the international relations and the geopolitical framework, but also the way of connecting companies and doing business. And the Digital Embassy initiative mentioned by Ambassador De Luca is just a first good example of how these new tools can increase the economic and commercial opportunities. Moreover, as recalled by the two ambassadors, Italy and India will have the extraordinary chance to closely cooperate in the next months and years, since they will be holding the consecutive presidencies of the G20. And so I think that we will have several occasions to meet again and match the institutional and business work. From our side, the association will continue its activity with the aim of promoting and involving anyone interested in taking part in the life of the association, not only from an Italian perspective, but also in an increasingly European one, since we are aware of the EU role towards the strengthening of strategic partnership with India. So thanks again. It's a pleasure to be here and looking forward to meeting you in person. Thank you very much, Mr. Simon.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Matteo. We look forward to your active support to take the cooperations further. Now I'd like to move to some special competent speakers that we've had together to bring messages, and from the journalistic world, which is very important media, and one of the leading newspapers, Corriere della Sera. I have the pleasure of introducing you to Alessandra Muglia, and she has been a very active journalist, gone to India. We've had some very interesting follow-ups with her, and she's an active, shall we say, protagonist in terms of the media on India. She's very specialized. She's in love with both the relationship between our countries. Alessandra, please. Is Alessandra Muglia there? Maybe we have a connection problem.
Connected just the beginning, and I don't know why, because I cannot activate it because it's the guest. They told if I try to activate my video, I'm told that I cannot because the host. So I don't know. I was present at the beginning, and then the video disappeared. Anyway, can you hear me now?
Yes, we can hear you very well. I think that's fine. In the meantime, I think we would go ahead and listen to you, and then we hope to see you too. In the meantime.
Okay, now here we are. Okay.
Okay.
Someone habilitated me. Okay, so thank you so much, Ronnie, for inviting me to this panel, and thank you to all these distinguished speakers. It was interesting to hear you. And I just like to very quickly to come through to my experience. I've been covering India for a dozen years, and actually I came to India in 2007 and invited by the European Ambrosetti, and it was a tour of young leader, and Ronnie Simon was our very excellent guide there. And there, it was there then when I fell in love with India. It was really an amazing trip from north to south in the country, and it was a promising country. It was. It appears to me as the country where everything would be possible. You know, the country of possibility. It was those were the years of shining India and Indian miracle. So that was as you know, I was initiated to the country in a very enthusiastic way. Now I'm worried about for that promising country because, as you all know, the most fast-growing economy now is facing some difficulty, and actually the COVID is just run the risk of accelerating this process. And that would be a pity for India and for all the economy who are in relation with India, as Italy, right? So now there is actually India is reacting to this crisis, and also Prime Minister Modi urged his countrymen to seize the moment and to attract to attract as the good moment to attract new investment, right? So as China is not so much popular, New Delhi is determined to take advantage of this bad relationship with Beijing and US and all the global world. So that's but there are many challenges to this, to this purpose, and maybe the ambassador can help us to try to figure out how it could work, because one of the main challenges is the migrants, the workers who are not there. So even the Indian industry find it hard to start again. Now there is an easy of lockdown in the next few weeks. India is going to ease the lockdown, but in some of the Indian state, some industry have already started, but only 30% of the people are allowed in the factory. But anyway, they find it hard to find a workforce, right? And all the migrants who left the towns are not willing to come back. So how can reluctant migrants be convinced to come back to town and work there, leaving their home? That's one challenge, a very big challenge. And the other one is about what JP Morgan said, that all the investment decisions from today onwards are so about where to locate money will be one of the criteria will be the state of public health in that country. So do you think there is a program, because up to now I haven't heard about that, there is a program to strengthen the public health system in India? Because, you know, if you want to start a new business, a new industry, that now is a good point, because the coronavirus is something we can ignore even in the future. We may be obliged to go on with it for more than 1 week and more than 1 month. And because also what has been noticed by some economists is that, of course, there has been a big stimulus plan by New Delhi, by the government of New Delhi, but there is no mention. It is made about land, you know, land offered the double side of Luxembourg to firm prepared to firm who wants to invest in India. So there is liquidity plan, the 4L classic investment, you know, format. But now, after the pandemic, maybe we have to update this schedule. Maybe also the investments also on the healthcare system should be there. I don't know. Maybe they have been planned, but not communicate up to now. I'd like also to have some news about it if possible. And then last, very quickly, I would also be very much pleased if there could be in the future also a more connection also on a journalist level. So exchange between Indian and Italian journalists. That would be very great to improve debates and share ideas between, you know, opinion maker who can collaborate very strictly also with the main character, the leader of this connection between India and Italy. Thank you very much for your attention.
Thank you very much. That was very much symbolic of a journalist who is actually following the micro detailing, and I'm sure that our honorable speakers, somebody or the other, would like to give you answers at the Q&A session. We are rushing through because it's been interesting, so I'm going to ask our speakers ahead to just concisely put together so we have enough time for Q&A at the end. I introduce Dottoressa Natalia Opperti. She is a very dynamic, very committed lawyer and tax firm. She's from the studio Manzoni, Paliero, Vance and Associati, and they are based in Italy, and they follow India. They have some of the largest customers. They have huge multinationals that they represent in India who have invested into India, like IKEA, global firms like that, and ITT and H&M, and they are very focused also on India specializations. Her greatness is that she has proposed India desk in her tax firm, and she has a lawyer from Mumbai, Saloni, who's joined them, and they are specialized going to India. I give the word to Natalia Opperti.
Thank you, Mr. Roney. You basically told everything about myself, my firm, and our experience with the relation between India and Italy. As you mentioned, first, let me thank you, Mr. Roney, for inviting me and to be in the panel and to speak with such an impressive lineup. And we heard about from the previous contributors their experience, past experience, and proposals on how to strengthen the relations between Italy and India and how to boost this bilateral relation, especially in a period that is a little bit strange. And so it's we heard this experience. I want to bring you my experience, the experience of tax advisor, and what we have done to boost the bilateral relation between Italy and India. We assist clients that invested in India, but we also assist Indian companies and Indian families that for their investment into Italy. And we decided because of this, because we see a lot of movements between Italy and India, to set up an Indian desk, an in-house Indian desk. We set up this Indian desk last year with the purpose of giving a new perspective also to clients, because I usually say that a good advisor, a good tax and corporate advisor is also must be seen as a partner of the businessmen, of entrepreneurs, and that's why we decided to set up this Indian desk. I must say that this is a winning choice because we see that there is a good integration of culture, of experience, and we ask this Indian lawyer to join our firm. And now she's in Delhi, but I hope to welcome her back soon in Torino. Well, I must say that also tax advisors are ready to help businessmen. We strongly believe in the opportunity that give Italy, but we also strongly believe in the opportunities that India has. India has a lot of potentiality. India can be an alternative to other Asian countries like China. What can I say? What I can add more in my intervention is that we are ready. We are ready to help as a FICCI, as the embassy can be the perfect partner of a businessman. Also, tax advisor must be seen as partners, good partners. And so there are a lot of good professionals to assist businessmen. So I can conclude my intervention with this. Thank you very much. Thank you very much for the opportunity.
Thank you, Dottoressa Natalia. We look forward to seeing more of you on the Indo-Italian screen. I'm now introducing Mr. Was Shenoy. He's a prolific Indian businessman who studied in Italy and graduated and did his management practice and is now an investor in different areas from energy and others. Please, Mr. Was Shenoy, on India and Italy, please.
Thank you so much, Ronnie. Thank you so much, Ronnie. Greetings from Napoli, everybody, which is the heart of Italy. Don't let everybody fool you that Milan is. The good part about speaking almost last is the fact that everybody else has said and covered almost all the topics. So I'll keep my remarks very brief. There are two things that I learned when I came to Italy. Italians and Indians had one thing in common. They loved food. And the other thing that held both these people together was their optimism. Both people are very optimistic. Like the Indians picked themselves up after partition and colonialization and built up an empire, the Italians have reconstructed their country after World War II. And so I'm very confident that no matter what happens, both these populations will pick themselves up after every tragedy and will look at the future optimistically. I'll keep my intervention to a few points. In 2030, as you know, India will be the largest and most popular, well, not the largest, but the most populous country on earth. What has not been really underlined is that almost 33% of India's population will be in between the ages of 15 to 34. So India will be a really young country with over 300 million young people. Now, this COVID has forced all the universities to go online, and e-education has become a norm. And this could be a huge opportunity for Indian and Italian universities to work together to offer e-education courses across the border. It needs to be quick. I mean, Italian universities don't plan to open face-to-face lessons till January 2021. I have no idea when the Indian universities will again open classes. But if e-education is going to be the norm, it's niche, it's an opportunity, and both countries have a lot to offer to each other. If we're looking at 2030, we need to capture the youth. We need to make sure that the young people speak each other's language, understand the cultures, and understand the countries if we want to make sustainable development possible between both the countries. India has a ministry for micro, small, and medium enterprises. This is beautiful because the Italian economy is made, as everybody said before me, of small and medium enterprises. The Prime Minister Modi has, in his package, declared a huge amount of assistance to the MSMEs and has also changed the categorization. Now, I think you have to invest 1 million euros instead of 200,000 euros, and you're still considered an MSME. So there needs to be hand-holding for small, medium enterprises on both sides to be able to work together. I mean, just matchmaking, just having trade fairs is not enough. I have run small and medium enterprises in different countries in the world. And when you're a small entrepreneur, you need help. And while institutions can provide support, I think it is time that both the countries get together and create a group of stakeholders, of public-private partners, tax advisors, embassies, and governments, and create a package to really help Italian small and medium enterprises and Indian small and medium enterprises to work across the border, to cut through the bureaucracy, which is another thing the two countries have in common, and to make sure that all the actions are actually effective. They make money, because they're going to need all the help they need after this crisis, because a lot of the small and medium enterprises in both countries are not going to have an easy time. My last point is, everybody has spoken about different fields there need to be interventions in. I really think there needs to be more collaboration in startups and venture capital, especially when it comes to funding new ideas of young entrepreneurs. And I think both, especially India, has a huge Silicon Valley background and history in developing the venture capital world for young entrepreneurs in biotech and in technology. And I think both countries can share a lot of this expertise. I'll end my remarks by thanking both the ambassadors for the leadership they've shown. I've had friends stuck, Italian friends stuck in India and Indian friends stuck in Italy at the beginning of this emergency. And while everything was not smooth, these were very uncertain times. And hadn't it been for Ambassador Sandhu and Ambassador Di Luca's leadership and dedication, I don't think people would have made it back safely. So thank you for being on the front line, and thank you for making life easy for people in such uncertain times. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. I must say, you're in good company, because the Napolitano spirit is also something that Ambassador De Luca carries with him. And I have also had the pleasure of running an aircraft company in Naples for 2 years, and I know I've been influenced by it. I picked up a ambitious virus in Napoli, so I'm part of it. So now I would like to also invite a young India, because it wouldn't be complete if we didn't have somebody under 40 telling us what life is all about. We have a venture capitalist, investment fund manager, and a prolific investor of Indo-Italian and Indo-European trade, Ameya Prabhu. Ameya, all yours. We are going to listen to you. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much. And it's been very interesting listening so intently to what everyone had to say. And I think, while of course, as Vas, interestingly enough, Vas and I went to the same school, but in 2 different countries. He went to the one in Italy, and I went to the one in India. And in a way, and I've actually visited the school in Trieste once when I was there, visiting a few friends. And interestingly enough, I think that I find our countries to be so similar culturally, and the family cultures to be so strong, that sometimes I wonder, why don't we have, of course, we have a lot of business connects, but why don't we have even more? We can always hope and aspire for greater connectivity. I think Italy is working very closely with China. There's a lot of integration between the Chinese economy and the Italian economy, including the Chinese owning quite a few assets now in Italy, as well as the supply chain being linked into China. So I feel one of the interesting things that we can focus on going forward, if you see what should be the, say, 4 pillars of cooperation between India and China, India and Italy, pardon my confusion. And as one could be, of course, on the supply chain. I think both on textiles, on leather, and also on the automotive, because we have quite a strong automotive supply chain in India. I think that Italian firms can certainly look at India as a supply chain destination, as well as Indian firms looking to Italy. I have a friend of mine who has recently invested in a optical fiber plant in northern Italy, and he's been waiting for COVID to end so that he can go and inaugurate it. He's been inviting us as well. So I think Indian firms also looking at investing in Italy, from both getting an access to European market and also for the technical expertise. The second pillar which I see is there is a lot of finance. I mean, one of my speakers earlier spoke about helping Indians invest in Europe and Italians invest in India. So I run a financial services firm. We do private equity, we do venture capital, we do public equities. We also pick up stakes in foreign companies which enter India, minority stakes at that. So both from third-party capital as well as our own capital. So we're happy to, in the future also work with Italian firms looking to enter India, both in terms of setting up businesses here as FDI, or also as institutional and family office investors looking to access the Indian market. Because I think financial cooperation on the product side could be a very strong area of working together. The third is, of course, which was mentioned, is Bollywood. I find that film and culture, the Indian film and culture, is increasingly becoming more and more relevant around the world. A good friend of mine owns a firm called Eros, which is one of the largest Indian film producers and distribution entities. They have an app called Eros Now, which has the largest library of Indian movies. And we've been seeing, just chatting with her yesterday, they recently merged with a large media firm out of the US, and she was very encouraged by how much their new subscribers are coming from Saudi, coming from Africa, coming from Latin America, because thanks to Netflix, everyone is used to watching shows with subtitles. So I think both shooting as well as distribution of Indian content. I actually love watching Italian shows. I was watching Suburra recently. I was quite a fan of it. And Suburra, I should pronounce it correctly. So that's the third element. And I think fourth element is, of course, I think all of COVID has made us very spiritual and made us look inwards. So I think India offers that Eastern spirituality and the Eastern thought process, both of our religion as well as of our ability to look deeper into ourselves and transcend the mere the fact that we are going through a lot in the world. So instead of looking outwards all the time, looking inwards. And I find a lot of people from all around the world, including Italians, constantly coming to India to seek that higher calling. So I think that is another thing because life is not all about business and money. It's also about how we can help save the environment, working better with each other on sustainability, as well as on spiritual development. So that's what I think we can do. I know we are running late, so I will end my intervention. But thank you so much.
Thank you, Amir. That was great. We are hoping to see your young leader spirit come into main play, and this is no better time than now. I now go to one of the most heavy, shall we say, and power speakers representing one of the most incredibly famous and effective companies of India, Larsen & Toubro, Mr. Arun Ramchandani. I'm talking of Mr. Mukesh Bhargava. He's the member of the board of the L&T Defense. Larsen & Toubro is one of the most involved companies now on the Indo-Italian front too, because they are into infrastructure, airports, you name it, you have it. And Mr. Naik has been a great leader in this area. And Commodore Mukesh Bhargava today brings his experience of L&T Defense. Commodore, all yours. You'd have to unmute your, yeah, please, go ahead.
Am I audible?
Yes, you're perfect now.
Okay. Ambassador De Luca, Ambassador Vincenzo, Madam Marta Grande, dignitaries, and the people on the webinar today. I think this is a very opportune time for having a webinar during the COVID time, which has been, I think, the most unprecedented event after the Second World War, and maybe in some measure even more severe than that event. It has impacted the industry in a very negative way, and beside the time that has been lost, the uncertainty of the whole event is what is keeping the industry on the very tenterhooks. There is an uncertainty with regard to this continuity of the lockdown and how the post-lockdown working would happen. And those are some of the challenges that industry is today dealing with. And I think this is a time where two countries, as our previous speakers have said, with their similarities and a similar kind of challenges and the outlook towards the global cooperation, how can they cooperate towards development of new technologies for working from remote? We have about a month back, some of our factories started working, opening up, and as one of the speakers mentioned, that India has already started working. Yes, we had about 3 to 4 weeks of work going on, but there are the new kind of challenges which are coming, which we need to grapple with and find solutions for. How do you do welding when you have to ensure social distancing between the chap who is holding the electrode and the chap who is feeding the job? And this is just a tip of the iceberg. When you go into real manufacturing, you find the challenges multiply. And that is what gives an opportunity for developing new kinds of technology of working from remote. I would like to share some of the examples during my couple of minutes. We also need to look at how do we catch up on the time that has been lost by finding ways, because we have a share market which is very, very unforgiving. You have numbers declared and you've already lost a quarter and you don't know whether what will happen in the next quarter. And we need to see how do we catch up on the production. So you need to find production enhancing measurements, and that is where another opportunity for co-development and co-production between Indian and Italian companies. I was very happy to learn from our Honorable Ambassador to India that there are manufacturing technologies which would be of use to both the countries. Some of the sectors which are really promising in India, one of them is, of course, the aerospace and aviation. As you know, India is the 9th largest aviation market and expected to become the 3rd largest in the next 6 to 7 years. And that creates a huge opportunity for the MRO and also for the maintenance and upkeep. This is an untapped market, which probably Indian and Italian companies can look at. From my place, I can see there is a new normal that is going to be set post-COVID. The world is not going to be the same. Definitely the manufacturing would not be the same the way it was. So we need to not try to see what it has done to us, but we learn to live. How do we learn to live with this environment, and how do we improve our productivity in this environment? So new business models, the new kinds of markets and new kinds of products are the ones which we need to look at how we can develop. Ambassador mentioned about the e-commerce. I would like to look at the strength that India and the companies like Larsen and Toubro can bring to the table in terms of digital world and digital space. And this is something where we are already reached certain stage, but would be very much keen to collaborate with companies from Italy in terms of not just Industry 4.0, which last 3 years we've been practicing in most of our works, but also look for the Industry 5.0, whether we can jointly look for developing that. There are challenges, as one of the speakers mentioned, about the manpower and how does the migrant labor come back, or whether we can really get to the same level of production. But we have strengths also in our MSME sector, which is available, very, very thriving in this country. They are the producer of almost 60 to 70% of the IPs and provide 70% of the jobs to the workforce. I heard that there is a very vibrant MSME sector in Italy. So that is yet another very, very coherent and vibrant opportunity to collaborate. India, as you know, is one of the fastest growing economies. And we have today almost 17% of our GDP comes from manufacturing. The Prime Minister has made a very clear statement that we would like to go to 17 to 25%, which would create almost 25.
I think we have lost Commodore Bhargava. We are not able to hear him now. Can we hear Commodore? Yes, we can. Thank you very much, Commodore Bhargava. That was really nice. I think we lost you towards the end.
Yeah, I think it's what my headphone.
But we thank you. Yes, I thank you. Yeah, thank you very much. But that was really nice to hear from you. We are now at the end of our session, and we are just open to Q&A, and hopefully we will be able to still wrap up in time. But it was a very interesting session with everybody. So if there's any questions from anyone, we would be more than happy to take it up. You know, in these pressing times, somebody may have a question or two, please.
You want to check the chat box, Ronnie?
Yes, I've already done that. Essentially, what you know, everybody. One of the vibrant questions that's coming up is how will India take on the possibility of the shifting from China to India and the investment opportunities and the program. So I think this is more or less one of the first questions, and I'm wondering whether one of our key speakers would like to take it on. Manish, I thought we could ask any of you could step in and answer the question: how is India going to position for the post COVID possibility of shifting from China some businesses to India?
Yeah, you want
May I?
Also?
Okay.
I can come in case after Manish maybe.
Yeah.
Okay.
No, please.
We the way we look at it at FICCI is that we really should not expect companies to sort of undo their investments in China and then move elsewhere. Because after all, it is money. If companies have spent billions of dollars and invested in China, it's somewhat difficult for them to forget that investment. But yes, as a part of a de-risking strategy, companies may look at future investments, which could be in places other than China. And that's where India would definitely want to compete with our global peers and try and attract those investments in. Because India probably demographically is very similar to China in the sense we can produce competitively, we have a large local market. On top of it, surely in terms of rule of law and IPR protection, India has its strengths. So that's where we have been proposing to our government also to look at this opportunity for attracting additional investments or the expansion plans from foreign investors. This includes again two categories. One is current investors who may want to expand into India, and the second is some investors who are not there in India to look at India for their expansion. So this is broadly the way we look at things in FICCI.
Any other answer? Ambassador De Luca, please, sir.
Yes, thank you. On the point how India can become a more advanced global manufacturing platform. This is the issue, no? And also have some space to attract more investment that now are maybe in China or in other countries. The point is we have to work together, Italy and India, on some sectors where there could be a comparative advantage vis-a-vis the Chinese production. I mentioned aerospace and defense, green economy, robotics. These are all sectors where the European and the Italian industry is much more advanced than the Chinese industry. So if we strengthen partnership on those fields, and I invite FICCI to organize with us a specific webinar on this, how we can strengthen the relation between Italy, Europe, and India in promoting a new global platform. Because the risk is to eliminate global chain. This is not good for any country. We need a global value chain, but we need a diversified global value chain. And India can play a role, especially in those sectors, included automotive maybe, where there could be more attraction to invest here than in other countries. I would also mention the interaction between digital space and manufacturing, the so-called Industry 4.0. In Italy, we're well advanced. We're one of the most ambitious plans together with Germany in Europe for Industry 4.0. In those sectors, I think we can build up a strategic partnership, Italy and India, to have more investment of Italy in India, but also more investment from India to Italy. Because once we have a Brexit, we have also to rethink about how to be present in the European Union market. And Italy, with its 180,000 Indians who live in Italy, this is another asset we have to consider. So a strategic partnership to enhance a global platform for advanced manufacturing. This is my idea. Maybe I invite Mr. Singhal and, of course, Mr. Simon to work together on a webinar. We can have with us the best Italian technology companies representative and also the best Indian manufacturing companies representative. Would be very useful, because otherwise, of course, we need a framework, a friendly framework for investors. And the Prime Minister Modi has already introduced the 4L, land, liquidity, labor, and law. But we did also an exchange of technology to really have a role, a stronger role of India in the global value chain. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Ambassador. Anyone, any other
Ronnie,
questions?
I would just like to add on.
Please, Rohit.
Yeah, you know,
Rohit
this was,
Sharma.
yes, I'm Rohit Sharma from FICCI. This process, you know, had started for many years now. Literally, you know, $60 billion of investments coming into India back on year on year. What we have actually seen is, like, you know, a lot of European companies have been hedging their risk of investments in China. So, you know, high return, high risk market in China and moderate but safe returns in India is what attracting a lot of investments into the country. So this process we have been, you know, listening for many years now. So once this coronavirus has given us an opportunity, and a lot of that action has already started happening at the policy level, and we are optimistic, and that's why we have been interacting and discussing with a lot of investors, the global investors, the policymakers, the investors in India, of key, you know, economic partners that India has. So this process is going to, you know, get accelerated in the coming years, and the policy support and the government support, which is expected from our end by the foreign investors and businesses, is already started taking place. So the future holds quite a bit of, you know, possibilities for the country to attract and become a greater business partner and investment partner for European and for Italian companies who are already doing business in the country. Thanks.
Great. Thank you very much.
I'd like to add a point on this, Ronnie, if permitted.
Please.
Our company has actually set up a manufacturing plant in China for making the coal gasifiers, and we were very competitive, winning tenders in China against Chinese companies. We have also been exporting a lot into the Southeast Asian countries, where major competition comes from the Chinese companies. The only places where we lost out was where the Chinese government could manipulate the currency to win the tenders over there. So as far as what Ambassador De Luca very rightly said, as far as heavy manufacturing, design engineering, I would like to add the IT and ITES related, and of course, aerospace and defense. These are sectors where not today, but almost about 4 to 5 years back, companies like Airbus and Boeing have asked us, they wanted to shift out of China to set manufacturing bases in India. This is 4 years before Corona. Corona has given an added incentive for that movement to happen. So we would require certain Indian government policy support for making it price competitive and sustainable. But it is very much possible, and it's a huge opportunity. Thank you.
I just take this occasion to ask Ambassador Rina Sandu, would you like to say something on this, ma'am? Also, there's also some questions regarding the medical industry, where there's huge potential of transfer of technology, and you mentioned pharma. So I thought maybe you could tell us a few things on this.
Thank you, Ronnie. As it has emerged from today's discussion, it is an evolving situation, and we will see things change with times as we are able to find a vaccine, as things, you know, the faster we will move towards normalization. Therefore, I think the important point that has emerged from this whole pandemic crisis is the importance of collaboration and cooperation. Whether it is global cooperation, whether it is you know, within the country, it's a common enemy that everyone is fighting. And once we are able to move forward in terms of you know, bringing things back to the new normal, we would see economic activity pick up. It may not be the same as it was before the crisis. And yes, the governments are working on both ends to ensure that the industry has the necessary support mechanisms. Ambassador De Luca mentioned about the reforms announced by Prime Minister Modi, which, you know, in such situations, you do see very sort of major reforms being announced to revive the economy. So all these, you know, steps that are being taken in India, in Italy, would help the industry in the medium term as things gradually move towards normalcy. And I think someone mentioned also about the migrant workers. So, this is something that was quite unforeseen, a unique challenge. But I'm certain that this will not be a permanent. You will see, once things normalize, already there are huge efforts underway to mitigate the hardships that they are facing by setting up thousands of relief camps and catering to millions of people, providing more than 7 million people food every day and so on. And now even trains are running, domestic flights have started. So step by step you will see that we will begin to pick up and hopefully the industry will also, as it came out in today's session, work creatively and adapt and find new ways to work. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Madam. I think we've had a great session this morning and afternoon in India, and I think we need to also take home all these thoughts today. I personally think it's a moment to say thank you, because you've given your valuable time, and the good things must have a quick ability to end in time, and we've been generous in spending more moments today. I just want to thank the unwritten, unspoken heroes in every context. I want to thank some of my colleagues who've been helpful today to put this together. And I want to mention Mr. Rohit Sharma of FICCI and Devasmita. She's been really working hard on this program from the Delhi Center. Christina Essner and Daniel Simon here in Italy, and also Anu Iyer, who's been helping me over the years, and now in this particular program too from Delhi. My sincere thanks to President Marta Grande, Ambassador Rinat Sandhu, and Ambassador Vincenzo de Luca, the participants, Alessandra Mulia, Ms. Natalia, Shanoy, Amir Prabhu, and especially Commodore Bhargava and Manish. Thank you so much. I think it's been a great moment. I personally feel very happy that all of you have signaled a great movement ahead. I especially hope to see Ambassador Luca and Ambassador Sandhu together, guiding us further on this trip. And it's also, COVID has also brought to fore for FICCI, and that's the message that we are trying to launch in Italy and in India with FICCI Bandwagon, is competence is core. And this is the time that we'd like to bring it on board and actually push into the micro level, get our hands dirty on the bandwagon to go ahead on the progress between India and Italy. I think the actual word between India and Italy is going to be appropriate technology. Italy has it, and India is only country, I think, today, which has the ability and the young force to convert every one of these things into reality and take the global market with our combination of bilateral strength between Italy and India. Thank you very much, and I hope to see you soon on our other webinars, and look forward to meeting you all. Jai Hind. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much.
Jai Hind.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Thank you. Bye. Thank you.
Bye. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Thank you. Bye. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thank you so much, Ronnie, for wonderfully conducting.
Thank you, Rohit. Thank you so much. And my heartfelt thanks to everybody.
Thank you.
Especially our keepers with us. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Arshad.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Namaste.
Thank you.
Namaste.
Thank you.
Arshad.
Namaste,
Thank you.
Ambassador. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, everybody.